Part 64. Entertaining his friends. Broken his past lover's heart, exciting with his new lover. Everyone chatted and laughed for a while. Xuan Huaifeng felt that Yang Qian's eyes were always turning to him, but on the other hand, he thought that he was just being affectionate. Now that fashionable women talk about liberation, they always look at men more than men. Be more generous. Sitting like this is always uncomfortable. Taking advantage of the empty words, Xuan Huaifeng asked, "Have you all enjoyed lotus flowers?" Chengping replied, "I always talk here. I have eaten a lot of good tea and snacks from you. How can I still have time to appreciate flowers? Oh, that's the theme of tonight, don't let it go, let's go now." He stood up. Everyone got up together. Yang Qian asked, "Are you not going with Adjutant Xuan?" Xuan Huaifeng. Because these are the friends he invited, it would be bad if he didn't go together. He smiled and said, "Of course, I should accompany the guests." Through the carved handrails in the corridor, I saw that the guests downstairs were dressed in bright clothes, one of whom was wearing a soapy robe. Although standing in a corner, it was extremely outstanding. It turned out that Bai Xuelan had already arrived. Xuan Huaifeng stopped and said to the others, "I'm sorry. Another guest I invited has also arrived. How about I go down to say hello first, and then come over to accompany you?" Xie Chaifu said, "You can go. We are both acquaintances, what are you doing with so much courtesy?" Yang Qian asked, "Which friend is that? It must be a young talent." In front of these people, Xuan Huaifeng couldn't bluntly say that it was Bai Xuelan. Bai Xuelan is famous Hangzhou. I was afraid that young people like Huang Wanchen who like to jeer after hearing his name might make a fuss and invite him to meet him. If he said something rash, it would make Bai Xuelan uncomfortable. Because of some things in the past, in fact, Xuan Huaifeng felt more and more favorable towards Bai Xuelan. Naturally, in this good feeling, there is also a faint sympathy. He just smiled, "Just an ordinary friend, I'll go right now." After breaking up with the crowd, he went to the other end of the wooden revolving ladder to the next floor. Just halfway there, he suddenly heard someone call, "Huaifeng." He looked up and saw that Lin Qijun was standing in the corridor on the second floor where he had just stood, leaning over the handrail and waving to him. Lin Qijun stepped on his brightly beaten leather boots and walked down the stairs quickly. Seeing Xuan Huaifeng, he held his hand very intimately and said, "Where have you been?" Xuelan said, "You went to the lotus pond. I searched for a long time, and it turned out to be here. Your injury is completely healed? Does the wound still hurt? Is your appetite good these days? What do you eat? I bought a batch of American ginseng, one size of your thumb. I'll send you a few tomorrow, and you can ask the kitchen to make soup for you." He said a lot in one breath, with a very gentle tone. Xuan Huaifeng became embarrassed by his question, smiled and said, "It's all good, thank you for your concern. But American ginseng doesn't dare to worship. I still have a few here." As he said, he slowly pulled his hand from his palm. Seeing him draw his hands, Lin Qijun raised his eyes and stared at him with a half smile but a little sadness. Xuan Huaifeng sighed secretly in his heart and then looked directly at him. In that scene, to outsiders, the two seemed to be staring at each other affectionately. But Xuan Huaifeng's hand still pulled out without hesitation. Lin Qijun held his palm empty, but felt Yu Wen was still there, and asked with a wry smile, "Are you determined to break up with me?" Xuan Huaifeng was silent for a moment, then whispered, "The two of us have never been together. How can there be a break when we are together?" Lin Qijun's face suddenly twitched for some unknown nerve, showing a very unfamiliar face. Xuan Huaifeng was taken aback, and when he looked closely, Lin Qijun was smiling. The smile became more and more bitter. As he laughed, he let out a long sigh. At this time, the two of them had been standing in the center of the stairs, which had already caused many people in the living room to glance at them curiously. Xuan Huaifeng's eyes drooped, and he saw Bai Yunfei also looking up at them. With a clear smile on the corners of his lips, hurriedly said to Lin Qijun, Bai Yunfei is here, you are also acquaintances, let's go down and see everyone. Lin Qijun waved his hand and murmured, Go, I don't have the heart to see anyone else. Let's go. Xuan Huaifeng felt sad, his lips moved. Before he could speak, Lin Qijun had already crossed his shoulders and walked straight down the stairs. Xuan Huaifeng chased after his figure and saw that he didn't stop. He passed the guests from the living room and headed towards the door. Xuan Huaifeng was stunned for a while, thinking of the past love and secret love, and he felt very sad, but when he thought of Bai Xuelan, he felt that life was full of color, and there must be many fun and exciting things in the future. Why bother with such a little past? With a faint smile, he cheered up, and walked down in a smart and magnanimous manner. Bai Yunfei was already waiting at the other end of the stairs. When he saw him coming down, he reached out and shook his hand. He turned his eyes to the direction Lin Qijun left just now, and asked, Did you quarrel with Qijun? He seemed very unhappy. Xuan Huaifeng said, It's nothing. Even if it's a friend, sometimes it's hard to avoid speculation. Bai Yunfei was very sensible. Invitation, next time. Let me be the host and give you a favor. Xuan Huaifeng asked, When did you come? Bai Yunfei couldn't help showing a smile with a deeper meaning, and said, I came early. But you and Chief Bai are busy on official business. I heard that it is a serious matter of the general administration of customs. How dare I disturb a small guest in me? So, I went to the lotus pond for a walk, and the lotus flowers bloomed very well. But what I love most is the dozens of pots of peony that have slipped past, which are really beautiful. There are also 2 magnolias, which are also very cute. When the wind blows, the petals fall all over me. Xuan Huaifeng said, You are really poetic and picturesque. By this time, Magnolia grandiflora has already bloomed to the point of failure, and the 2 trees in the mansion are still late blooming. Once the flowers fail, they will not be able to keep it. But there is no wind, and the petals are gone. It also fell down. Bai Yunfei laughed, That's true. The ruined flowers and the willows are the most boring. Xuan Huaifeng was stunned, knowing that he had said the wrong thing, but he didn't know how to continue. Bai Yunfei laughed again and said, Adjutant Xuan, I'm kidding you, don't be annoyed. I know that you are a serious person and don't like to joke. He asked again, Why don't you see Mrs. Nian? Xuan Huaifeng saw something unnatural on the face. Since he was discharged from the hospital, he and Xuan Dian have only been in contact on the phone, and they have rarely seen each other. This time, there was no post on the lotus flowers party. Ask yourself, because Xuan Dian has an opinion on Bai Xuelan, so I am afraid to meet my sister face to face, and bring up the matter of resignation. It's not good if you agree to her. And it's not good if you disobey her. Xuan Huaifeng said, My sister is inconvenient, so I dare not ask her to go out. If she accidentally bumps into something, my brother-in-law will not let me go. Bai Yunfei said, It turns out that you are sincere. I am also surprised that this morning at Nian's house, why didn't I hear Mrs. Nian talking about this lotus flowers party? Xuan Huaifeng said in surprise, You went to my sister's place today? Bai Yunfei said, I often go there. Your sister asked me to come to her regularly teaching drama. But now she is like this, I don't dare to teach her to sing. I'm afraid she will be hurt. I just sing whatever she wants to listen to. She loves to listen to my chishi. She misses you very much. She always mentioned you, and said that if I saw you, I would tell you and visit her often. Xuan Huaifeng felt very guilty, regretting that he hadn't seen her sister these days, and making her worry about it, so he said hurriedly, "Please tell her that as long as I can take time off, or tomorrow or the day after, I will definitely see her." Bai Yunfei laughed and said, "You two brothers and sisters, are you fighting in the air? There are telephones in the mansion, so you can speak. She asked me to talk to you. And you asked me to talk to her?" Xuan Huaifeng laughed and said, "Sure enough, I'm confused. Don't bother you, I'll make an appointment myself." Bai Yunfei said, "Mrs. Nian must be very happy to find out." Xuan Huaifeng glanced behind him. When Xuan Huaifeng turned around, it turned out that Bai Xuelan had quietly stood behind him at some point. Bai Xuelan asked, "What are you talking about, so happy?" Xuan Huaifeng asked, "I'm going to visit my sister tomorrow, are you allowed me to take a leave?" Bai Xuelan said, "Of course. Do you still want to be the chief of customs? I'm not afraid that you will turn against me." Xuan Huaifeng saw that he was joking so blatantly in front of Bai Yunfei that he couldn't bear it, and turned to look at Bai Yunfei. Bai Yunfei pretended to say hello to the acquaintances among the guests, and turned his face away. Bai Xuelan is a busy person. He joked with Xuan Huaifeng, and was invited over by other guests. She had to socialize, so she reluctantly walked away. As soon as he left, Bai Yunfei turned around and saw that Xuan Huaifeng was looking at him, as if hesitating whether it was appropriate to leave him like this, and smiled understandingly, "You are busy with you. I also admire the lotus flowers and taste the food. It's over. It's time to go back to this hour." He habitually turned his hands, glanced at the watch, but immediately remembered something, and lowered his hand. Xuan Huaifeng glanced at him and saw that his wrist was empty, with only a faint mark on his skin, which is often seen when people who often wear watches take off their watches. Looking at Bai Yunfei's face again, there was actually a slight reddish tinge. Xuan Huaifeng understood 2 or 3 points, took a step forward, and said, "Are you going back? I'll take you off. It's so late and there's chaos outside. Don't call a rickshaw, let the driver take you off." Saying that, he accompanied Bai Yunfei out of the living room and headed towards the door. After more than half of the front yard, leaving the din of feasting behind, the silence of the night surrounded the two who were walking silently. Xuan Huaifeng slowed his pace and asked slowly, "Is that watch made by Uncle Ling again?" Bai Yunfei said, "Don't blame him. This time it was given by myself, an acquaintance, because my family gave it to me. It's urgent, so I'm thinking of putting it away for a few days." After speaking, he covered his mouth and coughed again and again. Xuan Huaifeng became concerned. "Are you ill?" After Bai Yunfei coughed, he took out a white handkerchief and wiped it, shook his head, and said in a low voice, "It's okay. I plan to take care of it in a few days before I take the stage." From Tianyin, there are a few good newcomers, and I heard that the manager of Tianyin Garden is planning to sign. If I don't sing, they won't help me keep an empty table. Besides, I always have to earn a monthly package of silver. Xuan Huaifeng heard him say this. "I can't help but feel bleak. I remembered that Bai Yunfei was also born rich. Once he lost his parents. He was in such a miserable situation. He couldn't help thinking of the day when he was robbed of his family property by his second mother, and went to Beijing. He was humiliated by his brother-in-law. But he was better than Bai Yunfei, his uncles and aunts who are not drug addicts, but also met Bai Xuelan. After thinking about it, they stopped and stood in the evening wind. Instead, Bai Yunfei laughed. "Don't be so emotional. 72 lines, you can be the champion. Singers are the same as other industries. If you don't go on stage, you won't get a salary. And there's no inequality. Why? In this way, it seems that I need sympathy." Xuan Huaifeng frowned and said, if you say sympathy and no sympathy, I can't say anything. I know that in Bai Xuelan's heart, he always regards you as a friend. Since if you are a friend, you should be a friend. If you have any embarrassment, or if you have urgent needs at home, or you need to see a doctor, you should tell us. Do you have more friendship with the pawnshop owner than with us? Bai Yunfei was startled. He never knew that Xuan Huaifeng had such a talent for speaking. And what he said was not only reasonable, but also very emotional and touching, and every word hit his heart. Feeling together. The eyes are a little moist. People who are just opera singers are not afraid of shedding fake tears inside and outside the show, but they are most afraid of shedding real tears in front of people. His eyes were hot, so he quickly held back his thin lips and smiled. Mr. Bai thinks I'm a friend. But what about you? I'm afraid I won't be able to climb high. Xuan Huaifeng looked straight. Then what do you think of my heart? What do I do perfunctorily for you for no reason? Bai Yunfei listened, stopped laughing, lowered his eyes, and said nothing. Xuan Huaifeng was also silent. The two continued to walk, and when they reached the porter, Xuan Huaifeng and the attendant ordered the driver to take Bai Yunfei home. Tonight, the mansion held a party, and the driver and the bridge car were ready to send people off at any time. As soon as they heard Xuan Huaifeng's call, they came immediately and stopped outside the gate to wait. When Bai Yunfei got into the car, he whispered to Xuan Huaifeng, I'm very grateful for your concern. I won't say anything else that is superfluous. Grabbing Xuan Huaifeng's hand, he tightly shake it and get in the car. Xuan Huaifeng sent Bai Yunfei off, sighed, and turned back to the living room, where he happened to meet Xuan Huaifeng and his group again, chatting and laughing happily while walking. Xuan Huaifeng asked, have you ever admired lotus flowers? Xuan Huaifeng said, thank you, it's really a beautiful flower. Celebrities wearing fragrant temples, charming night flowers and souls, are enough to write a manuscript for the newspaper. I have enough to eat and drink, so I shouldn't bother. I'm going to ask you to say goodbye. I'll invite you out for a meeting in a few days. Are you free? Xuan Huaifeng said. Are you leaving so early? Xuan Huaifeng said, it's still early? What hour are you looking at? Especially Chaifu, who always goes to bed early and has to teach students tomorrow. But I see that the high-ranking officials inside are very used to partying all night long. I saw a table of mahjong in the backyard. Several people who look like wives and aunts were sitting there. The banknotes in the small purses were all 5 yuan and 10 yuan. It was very lively. Our monthly salary is not enough for them to play half. Xie Chaifu said, stop criticizing. Those inside are also guests invited by others. What's the point of saying these? Xuan Huaifeng said, exactly, rightly. We will criticize when we go out, so as not to let people I eavesdropped in the corner. Xuan Huaifeng couldn't help laughing. Huaifeng, you are a reporter, and your mouth is even more unforgiving. Be careful that the secret police catch you. Xuan Huaifeng covered his mouth exaggeratedly and did a playful grimace. The night was already sinking and they were leaving. Xuan Huaifeng didn't hold back much, so he personally escorted them out of the gate and asked them if they wanted a car. Chengping waved his hand and said, no, Huaifeng is so good. It's more comfortable for us to walk back together. Huaifeng, you are a big man now. I'll be entertained tonight. Next time I eat at a small restaurant, I'll be the host. You don't want to come? Several people were elated under the moonlight, and their backs gradually faded away. Xuan Huaifeng sent off the guests twice in a row, and then returned to the living room. There were many fewer guests, and only a dozen or so were still hugging and dancing to the performance of the Western band. He felt a little strange. When he came back just now, he saw many beautiful and shiny cars parked at the door. Why did he leave so soon? When I asked the servant smiled and said, How many times did you leave? Those are the officials and gentlemen who have official business tomorrow and have to leave. Those wives, concubines, young masters and ladies, people who have nothing to do. Can't wait to play when they are idle. It's dawn. The chief said that since he was invited, he should let everyone have a good time. And asked people to set up various mahjong and pai-go toys in the back rooms, and let them play with them. Another deputy chief, Huang, gave a drumbeater. Come on. I don't know who sent a storyteller here. Now, out of the 10 stops, 9 stops are having fun all over the mansion. Xuan Huaifeng listened carefully, and sure enough, in the Western music in the living room, he could faintly hear drumbeats coming from elsewhere, and there was a babbling erhu in it, and he didn't know what song it was playing. Xuan Huaifeng asked, What about the chief? The servant said, The chief was held back by the Secretary General of the Prime Minister's office and insisted that the host accompany him to play 4 laps. It will probably be on the card table by now. Adjutant Xuan, do you want to go? Take a look? Xuan Huaifeng heard that it was mahjong. He was not very good at it, and it was no use to go. Besides, even though he knew that Bai Xuelan had to socialize, Xuan Huaifeng didn't like watching that big money-spending gamble. He looked at the complacent guests around him and yawned. He guessed that Bai Xuelan's mahjong game would be over in at least a few hours. He was going to see his sister tomorrow, so he couldn't look for a scolding with a dark circle under his eyes. It is better to rest early. He went back to his room by himself, asked someone to get hot water, took a clean shower, and went to bed. Because of Bai Xuelan's previous hug, his energy had been used up a lot. Xuan Huai fell asleep as soon as she hit the pillow, sweet and deep, and he didn't even have a dream. I don't know how long it took. And I vaguely felt itching on my face. Xuan Huaifeng slept for 8 or 9 minutes, turned over lazily, and ignored it. After a while, I felt a hand, against my belly button, move up slowly like a prank. Until it reached the tip of my nipple, and rubbed it lightly. Xuan Huaifeng was woken up. He heard the occasional bird chirping outside the window. He still closed his eyes and refused to open them. He sighed, You've been like this all day? Bai Xuelan smiled and put his shoulders on him. The sun is drying your buttocks. Why don't you get up? Xuan Huaifeng opened his eyes and saw that the sun was shining brightly outside. It was probably 11 or 12 o'clock. Xuan Huaifeng frowned and said, Playing mahjong all night? Bai Xuelan said, That's right, I'm exhausted. I lost 2,000 yuan, and I didn't take a shower. Get up. I'll ask the servant to prepare hot water for me. After washing, let's have breakfast together, and then stay home to see your sister at Nian's house. Xuan Huaifeng was startled, and raised his upper body. Why are you going to see my sister? Bai Xuelan squinted at him and said, She has admitted that she has been with me all her life. Your sister is naturally my sister. What can I not see her? Make it clear. And she will naturally stop trying to make you resign. He forgot what he said when he blamed Bai Xuelan for all-night gambling, so he shook his head anxiously. No. My sister is a traditional woman. I won't forgive you if you scare her like this. Bai Xuelan asked back, Could it be that I'm good for her by deceiving her all the time? I'm not afraid of others gossiping. Why do I keep it a secret? Or are you afraid of others gossiping? Xuan Huaifeng said, Who said that you would deceive her all the time? Now that I have identified you, I will definitely not be shaken. But now I can't. She is about to give birth to a child, so she can't stand the excitement. Bai Xuelan suddenly smiled, kissed his cheek and said, What's the hurry? I'm just joking. Who dares to provoke your precious sister? But you met her today, and she said bad things about me again and asked you to resign. What should you do? Xuan Huaifeng only understood. Bai Xuelan said these words deliberately. It was to give him a shot, so he couldn't help but push him to the bedside, gritted his teeth, and said, "Your thoughts are all used to deal with me? What can't you say, just scare me together? Jump? If my sister asks me, I will immediately nod and agree. And immediately resign from your post of the customs office." Bai Xuelan laughed. "I don't believe it." He kissed him repeatedly on the top, on the cheek, on the tip of the nose, and on the lips, before letting go of him and jumping out of bed to take a shower. Xuan Huaifeng couldn't do anything about him. He sat on the bed and shook his head for a long time.